Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, today we're just doing some basic AC work on the 85 300 ST. I've already evacuated the system, and there's a couple of seals, two seals on the back of the compressor where the manifold attaches that I want to replace because I saw a small leak there. And guys, this is a common leak area. After a few years, you might, so you can see I have the manifold disconnected, and you can see here on the outermost connection, I have the green seal. And then you can see right here, there's the gold seal. I need to go ahead and pop that one out of there. And what you see here is the dye that we put in the AC system, you know, a little bit dripped out along with the oil when I disconnected the manifold here. And over here on the bench, I have some more seals. Here's our gold one, and here's our green one. So we're going to go ahead and put those seals in there and reseal the system. Then we're going to put it under vacuum, let it sit for a while, make sure there's no leaks, and then we'll go ahead and recharge the system with R134. All right, guys, we're back up top, and we have our low pressure valve connected there, high pressure here, and we have our vacuum pump on. And you can see I have it pulling down to, it's like negative, let me turn off the light. There we go. Just shy of negative 30 inches of mercury. And we're going to let this go ahead and run, get it all the way down under vacuum. And then we're going to let it sit for a few hours and see if we have any vacuum leaks. All right, I have the vacuum pump turned off. We've been running it for about 45 minutes. And we can see here, okay, you guys probably can't see this, but we're just shy. There we go. I mean, we're right on like negative 30. It's like negative 29 inches of vacuum or so. Anyway, so we're going to just let this sit for the rest of the day and come back and check it. I don't know. I'm usually up till 1 or 2 in the morning, so we'll come check this at like midnight, and we'll just see if it's still holding to vacuum. If it's good, our seal is our seals are good. There's no leaks, and we're going to go ahead and recharge the system. Okay, guys, it is after dinner later this evening, and I can see here that our gauge has actually dropped a little. So that tells me there's a leak in the system. It wasn't those rear seals that I replaced. So I've done a little more inspecting, and let me show you where I actually found the leak. Okay, guys, the lights are out in the shop. And you can see here, that's a black light. So I'm going to go under the car, and I'm going to turn out this light, and hopefully this will show up on the camera. There's our compressor right there. Okay, when I shine the black light right there, I don't know if you guys can see that. See that? See the green showing up around the face of the compressor here? Now I wiped some off. There was a lot more on there than that. There you go. See that green up there? I've wiped it off from earlier when I was inspecting it, but that's the green dye that we put in there, that fluorescent dye that shows up. And it was all over the front face of the compressor. Now you can see I've wiped it off, but I just left a little residue so you guys could see it. Hopefully you could see it in the camera with the lights out. But there's a seal that goes around the compressor housing right here, and that seal is leaking, and so that's causing oil and stuff to leak out. Now, it had leaked out, and it was collecting around back here, and it was dripping from back here, and I thought it was the compressor seals, so I just changed them, but when in fact, it's actually the front seal in this compressor. So I'm going to remove that compressor and also the receiver dryer and just put in a new compressor, a new and dryer, and that will resolve our issue. Okay, when removing the compressor, there is a bolt right here that goes to the bracket. There's a bolt right here. And then there is a bolt right up in there. You can barely see the head of it. Now, on these bottom two bolts, this is your adjustment bolt right here, and that's where the adjustment linkage, see it runs up through there. You have a spacer right there. And then on this big bolt, it goes right here, you have a spacer right there. So it's important that you put those spacers back in when you install the new compressor. Okay, I have the compressor out, and I just put some little towels into the manifold holes so nothing gets in there. And here is the compressor. And so this casing right here, that's the oil in the compressor, that's the dye. It just came out of the back hole when I had it turned over upside down. But this casing right here, there's a seal, a big O-ring that seals around it. And so this whole contraption can slide into the casing. And that's leaking out of the edge right here. So we're going to go ahead and throw that new compressor on here. Okay guys, it's the next day and I just got our brand new compressor installed. Still have the sticker on here. Got our new seals back here connected. Got everything torqued down. Got our power plug connected. And now we're going to go up top and change out the receiver dryer. Okay guys, anytime you change your compressor, it's important to go change this receiver dryer. Because I opened the system yesterday and that allows moisture to get into the system. So anytime that happens, you want to go ahead and put in a new receiver dryer. And that receiver dryer has a material in there that absorbs moisture, and you don't want any moisture in an AC system. So let's go ahead and put a fresh one in there. All right, in order to make it easy to get access to the receiver dryer, we just want to pop out the headlight assembly, and it's right behind there. Set these aside. Now I'm just unplugging the connection on the back. There we go. First we'll push this guy out. I'll just unplug that connection. Set that aside. And there we go. Okay, take this guy out. That's our headlight bezel. There we go. And that'll just come out of the way a little bit, and then I can lift this out. There we go. And there's our assembly. We'll just set this down over here. But now you can see we have easy access to our receiver dryer here, so we can undo the connections. Just makes it way easier to do it this way. Okay, we just want to undo our main line here. That just screws off. And we want to get the line right here. There we go. And these aren't on crazy tight, guys, because they have O-rings that seal them. But once you have these two fittings loose, there you go. You see the little O-rings that are on there, and we're going to replace those when we put in our new receiver dryer. We can unscrew our receiver dryer and put our other one in there. Set those aside, and then this guy slides right out. And there we go. Now, this one was only installed a few years ago, but like I said, anytime you change the compressor and open up the system, it allows moisture to get in here, so it's just a good idea to go ahead and change these. All right, here's our new receiver dryer. You can see they're identical. And first thing we want to do, we want to crack it open and move our switches over to the new receiver dryer. I actually went ahead and just bought some new switches, so we can just do a fresh install of all this stuff. There we go, we got that one. And there's our temp switch there. And I'll probably just save those on for another project because those are perfectly fine. But what we want to do is unscrew our protective caps, and then we'll put a little lubrication on the O-ring there and get these back installed. There we go. That's in there, just like the other one. Now we want to take off this protective cap right here. There we go. And we want to put on, one's a temp switch, one's a pressure switch. I always forget, so I'll just say we'll install our switch. All right, let's see if it says on here. Nope, but here's the part number, guys. ASW 19000S, and this one ASW 15000S. And there's a bunch of other part numbers on there. You got like a 6ZL number, but you can find them with the ASW part numbers. And these red switches, I think these are actually off of the 201 chassis, but we use these because they kick the fan on a little bit earlier and keep the system cooler. Going to lubricate that one. There we go. Now we will take off the protective caps, but first I want to replace the O-ring seals over on the lines in the car. So this is an AC conversion kit, and they have the seals in here. So I'm going to cut this open. Okay, I went ahead and took one of the seals. Let's move this out of the way. One of the seals off the car. This is the one we want to replace. Just a small seal that goes on the AC line. And we would just want to find the same size. That one might be it there. Yep, those look pretty good right there because we have two of them. Let me just make sure. Okay. These little O-rings go on this guy right here. We'll slide that one on. And here's the old one over here. I'll take this one off. There we go. I'll take that one off. Okay. Now our dryer is ready to go back in the car. So let's go ahead and get that. Okay, we've got our caps off there. And it goes right like this. I'm going to slide that down in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this one started. There we go. All right, now before we tighten them down, we're going to put our screws back in here. All right, good. All right, now let's tighten those back down. There we go. You don't need to go crazy tightening them down, guys. It's like I said, they have O-ring seals. All right, there we go. Now let's get everything plugged back in. So we'll plug these back in. All right, new receiver dryer. Let me wipe everything down here. And keep in mind, guys, this is behind the headlight, so you will never see back here, neither will anybody else, but we'll go ahead and wipe it down a little anyway. There we go, much better. All right, let's go ahead and get our headlight back in. And there we go, guys. I'll put the other two plastic retainer nuts on the back side of the headlight bezel, and we're ready to recharge our AC system. Okay, so we have the two main components, the compressor and the dryer, receiver dryer, replaced. Remember, it was that compressor that was leaking from the front seal. So what I want to do now, before we start adding our oil and R134, I want to put the system back under a vacuum and let it sit to make sure we've resolved our leak issue. So go ahead and turn on the vacuum pump. And wow, you can see it immediately went down to -30. And then we want to shut off the system and let it sit and make sure we fix that vacuum leak. And while we're waiting on that system under vacuum, I just got our replacement key or second key from the Mercedes Classic Center, because this car only had one key. There we go, genuine Mercedes key. Let's go make sure it works here. There we go. Good. Now we have two keys. Always best to use the original key, but there is an exact duplicate Mercedes key. Okay, we've shut off the vacuum pump, and we are holding right. I hate this light. Like, there you go. You can barely see. -30. Looks like about -29. There we go. It's about -29, just shy of -30, which is right where we want it. So now I'm going to let this sit for the rest of the day, and we'll make sure we're leak free, and then we'll recharge this system. Okay, it's been 24 hours. I've had this under vacuum since yesterday, and it's the next day, and mission accomplished. Let me see if you guys can get in here and see this. There we go. Well, shoot, it's hard to see. There we go. We are still at -29 or so inches of mercury, just where we left it yesterday. And so there are no leaks in the system. Let's go ahead and recharge it. Okay, guys, here's my oil injector. And the oil I like to use, Frigiquiet. This stuff is excellent. It's a good PAG oil. And there we go. We got 6 ounces in there. So we're going to go ahead and inject this oil in. Now, this injector has graduated marks on it. There we go. You can see down here at the bottom. See where it says 2 ounces? So we're going to fill this up a few times and inject the oil into the system. And it already comes with the dye in it, so we can see any leaks, but we know this system is not leaking now. So we'll go ahead and put in our oil. There we go. We'll do it right up to the threads there. And then we'll put on our cap. And what you can do, the way this works, you can screw the bottom. You screw it in, and it slowly goes up and compresses and pushes that oil in there. And since the system's under vacuum, I'm going to go ahead and go under the car. I'll lift it up, and I'm going to disconnect the high pressure port. And we're just going to connect the oil to that port and let the vacuum suck it into the system, because we want to get some good oil into the system before initially cranking up that compressor, or cranking up the car and spinning the compressor. Okay, guys, remember the high side port on the 300SD is right in front of the car. The 300D, it's under the car and it's harder to access. So first, I want to close this so we don't lose our vacuum. There we go. And then I'm going to unscrew our line. There we go. Now I'm just going to screw in our injector, our oil injector, and then I'm just going to open there we go. That's open now, and the vacuum, it's really easy to turn in because the vacuum is sucking in our oil. We're going to do this a couple of times, and I'm going to put about 4 ounces into here because the compressor, you want to add about 6 to 8 ounces total system volume. And since we changed the compressor, I poured the oil out of the compressor. It comes shipped with 3 ounces. And there was about 1 ounce left in there because only 2 ounces came out. And then of course you have, let me shut this back off. Then of course you have, there's oil in the condenser up here. There's going to be a couple of ounces in the condenser. So that's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to add 4 ounces. And because the dryer receiver is empty, we changed that. And you want between 6 and 8 ounces. So if I add 4, that puts us right around 7 ounces total oil. And you can ballpark it, guys. As long as you're between 6 and 8, you're going to be good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fill this injector up again, and we'll come back and inject 2 more ounces. All right, guys, now we want to crank up the car and put the AC on full blast, on high and full AC, and then we're going to start injecting our R134. So we're going to open up our R134. There we go. That's now open. And we want to purge any air out of the system. There we go. Did you see R134 come out right there? And we want to go ahead and open our valve. And there we go. You can see, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm just watching my gauges. Letting the R134 flow in. There we go. There, our compressor just kicked on. It already detected enough to turn on. Alright, I think it's already taken this first can, so I'm going to shut off our valve. And we're going to go ahead and get our second can. Alright guys, we're just putting in the final can, and you can hear there's a little chattering coming from the compressor area. That's because that's a fresh belt, and I need to tighten up the belt a little bit. If you don't have the belts tight enough, you'll get chattering from the compressor, so don't be alarmed by that noise. I'll tighten up the belt when I'm done. Okay guys, we're done charging the system, and again, ignore the chattering you hear on the compressor. I just need to tighten up the belt a little bit. That's completely normal when the belt's not quite tight enough, but let's go in here and check, see how our AC is running. Oh wow, that is ice cold. Now I have a couple of thermometers. Yeah, that is ice cold. I have a couple of thermometers in here, and I can see the temp is dropping. And there we go, it's dropping. And we'll be around 40 degrees, 38 to 40 degrees once it's all said and done. So mission accomplished. Let me go ahead and turn that down a little bit. Mission accomplished. This AC system has no more leaks, new compressor, new receiver dryer. We've recharged it. It's working fantastic. So now I'm going to go into there and tighten up the belt a little bit to get rid of the chatter. And there's one more thing I want to do on this car, and that is the sway bar end links. I noticed back when I worked on the car 2.5 years ago, they looked fine. I didn't change them, but they appear to be the original, so I'm going to go ahead and slap some more on there. They're not broken, they're still functioning, but it's, you know, a cheap part and it's easy to replace, so I'm going to go ahead and knock that out so it'll be good for, you know, thousands and thousands of miles. So we'll see you in a second. Okay, let's go ahead and put our caps back on the high pressure port and our low pressure port. And now we're going to raise the car, tighten up that belt a little bit. All right, the AC is on full blast, and you can hear we don't have any more chatter from the compressor because we tightened up that belt. Let's just listen for a second. Perfect, that belt is now the right tightness. Okay, look back here, you can see there's the sway bar end link, and you can see where the boot, there's normally a little boot that goes around there to keep dirt and debris out, and that boot has deteriorated. Now, you can see it's still functioning, it's not broken, but I'm going to go ahead and change them. You just take off this little 17mm nut, and you can slide it out of there, and then you need to get a wrench on the nut right there, and the bottom unscrews from the wheel hub. So we'll go ahead and do that. Let me show you the replacements. Here you go. Here's the replacement. See how it has the little protective boot around the, it's like a ball joint, basically. So we'll go ahead and put those in there. But when these break, you know, when they snap, because they are plastic, they last, you know, 100,000 miles or whatever. But when they break, your sway bar will flop around in the back. Here, let me show you. When they break, say this part comes out of here, well, then your sway bar, it can flop around back here, and it'll, you know, it'll bang against the body of the car, and it'll flop around. It'll bang down there, and you hear banging back here, and that's how you know it's time to change these sway bar end links. Okay, there we have the original and the new. You can see the original, that ball joint right down in there. See all the dirt and debris down in there, and that's kind of loose and flops around. Whereas the new ones, see how tight and snug they are. So let's go ahead and get that one on the car. The tricky part about getting the sway bar links back in is getting that bottom nut threaded. So you got to thread it. I've already got it started, but getting it started is the hard part because it threads into the back of the wheel hub, and it can be tricky to get it started. But there you go, that one's in there now, and that's tight. And you got to have a kind of a shaved off wrench, 17mm, to get back in there and get on it. So we'll go ahead and tighten that top nut down, and then we'll be done here on this side. Okay, there we go. We got our driver's side sway bar link installed and our passenger side, and I've also gone up here and snugged up the AC compressor belt. You got to have them pretty tight, guys. See how much flex is in there? It's not much, but those, you got to have them pretty tight or they'll chatter. So that's taken care of now. Let's go ahead and lower the car down. All right, guys, so that is it for any minor repairs I did on the 85-300 SD. Everything was pretty much how I left it when I did it a couple of years ago. We did the sway bar end links, the AC compressor, and the AC dryer, put some new seals in there. So now let's go ahead and get the car over to Scott, and we'll do the detail on this beautiful midnight blue 85-300 SD. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.